it's getting really crystal clear on what that intention is and how you want to feel. And it says, yeah, this feels good. So when we lose or start doubting ourselves, we reconnect to that intention.
This is Dream Again podcast, and I'm your host, Krina Okumos. Today, I'm excited to introduce you to our guest, Amy Matthews, a remarkable business and life coach dedicated to helping individuals overcoming limiting beliefs and self-doubt. One of my favorite motto that you have is, anything it's possible. Anything. Tell me a little bit more about that.
Oh, I love that question. I love your questions. This is so fun. I firmly believe everything is possible, and we're the ones who get in our own ways. And so it's a process of understanding what stops us. You know, it's fear, but it's often goes back to some limiting beliefs. There's some limiting beliefs that basically run the show, which are not current. They're probably things you picked up when you were like 4 or 5. And when we get into a place that's not comfortable, meaning we're trying something new, you know, we're really stepping out of the comfort zone. That's when all this stuff comes up, you know, right? You know, when you're happy in your home and you're just with people you love and you're not challenging yourself, and, you know, which is nice too. I'm not saying you always have to be challenging yourself, but that's a comfortable place. That's a safe place. But it's not safe when we kind of go for it, you know, because the limiting beliefs happen. Then there's so a limiting belief will drives a limiting thought, and the limiting thought drives a limited feeling, right? And then the limited feeling usually makes you not want to take action. So if you have an empowering belief like I can do anything, then your thoughts like, yeah, I can make it happen. I'm going to go be like number 100 in the podcast, in all podcasts. You know, then you have this feeling of like you're feeling really good and empowered and excited, and then you take action. But if you don't start with that belief, you know, that's if you're like, what if I fail? I mean, there's so many, common beliefs. What if I fail? You know, what will people think of me? You know, all these, well, I have a whole list to be like in here, but there's something that usually drives us to not want to take action. And it's a fearful thought, because at the end of the day, we all want to belong. We want to be loved and belong. We don't want to be criticized, in general. Yet to really be incredibly authentic, it really, it doesn't matter how people respond to you. And that's an evolving thing. It's taking me time to do that. But at the end of the day, if you have a voice or you have an idea, it's not about compromising, which we've talked about, the word not wanting to compromise, who you are and what you want to bring to the world. Does that make sense? Yeah.
Totally. I'm that person that I believe that everything is possible. And I remember when I had my fashion company, everyone, they were like, come on, nothing is possible. This is not possible. I said, no, we make it happen. But honestly speaking, I had my doubts too. And I had like different kind of secrets to lift me up, let's say, tips to lift me up. One of it, it's even in the morning, just listening music that I love, and I'm just like feeling to change the energy, because life is like, how is now the weather? I don't know how is now the weather in Sosolito, by the way, but in Europe, the weather is changing in a day. Is changing. Is we have almost the whole seasons. Thanks to God, we don't have snow, but everything else is there. My question to you, Emmy, is what will be 3 tips to our listeners when they have those moments of doubts from many different reasons. What will be 3 reasons that 3 tips that they can use to just change it and just go into that mode of everything is possible, I can do it?
Well, I think the first thing, I'll tell you what helps me. How's that? And
Yes,
then,
please do that.
and then we can bring it down to 3. When I am feeling, basically, when I'm doubting myself, I will go for a walk, clears the head, much more than getting on a Stairmaster or something like that, or doing an Orange Theory class. I really am out there, and the fresh air in nature basically cleanses my mind. Yoga, right? For me, because again, it's deep breathing. Those things really help me. But often, I ask many of my clients, it's like, start with, what's your intention for creating what you want? So if it's your business or it's finding a new job, it's getting really crystal clear on what that intention is and how you want to feel and what it is. And, it's like the elements of it. And you literally create the intention that says, yeah, this feels good. So when we lose or start doubting ourselves, we reconnect to that intention. Yeah, that's what I really want to create. So I think, those are, and then.
So nature, yoga.
Well, okay. Nature, yoga, be clear, stay with your intention.
Stay with your intention.
And then a gratitude practice,
Gratitude,
I feel you can shift everything, and then the other piece, which I really talked about, it's like, if you're doubting yourself, you got to ask yourself, because it's usually a negative thought about yourself. I didn't do it right. Like, I want to ask you, when you doubt yourself, what comes up? What's happening in your mind?
A lot of voices, I start to even name them, like
yes.
put them funny names. There are a lot of voices, that they are saying, oh, you are not good enough. Everyone will laugh of you. You will, yeah, a lot of bad voices around me, which are connected with my past, which could be connected with some people they are not necessarily believing in me. That luckily I took them out from my life.
Okay, that's good.
And this is something actually that I wanted to mention. This is something I just like speaking with you when we have our calls. I feel I am super powerful, like. But then if I have someone that doesn't believe and think, oh my God, look at her, she cannot do anything, like there are all these sometimes voices or people that they are super criticizing around. And I know it's not about me. I know it's about them at the end of the day. So I look with a lot of empathy. But yeah, I think are the voices, all these voices around me.
The critical voices, it sounds like.
Critical voices, exactly.
Right. So it's your opportunity to, it's our opportunity. And this is, it's not easy. I'm going to calm this voice. But that's the different activities I do calms that voice because I get more in touch with myself. But what's driving is the belief, which is a belief I want to say 99% probably of the population, but definitely women. I know that's a high percentage. We're being driven by this belief that we're not enough. We're not good enough, And that is, so whenever there's a belief, this is the thing. So we can do this exercise right now.
Yes, I love it.
So would you say that's the belief, like what we just talked about? Because you said not good
criticizing.
enough. Criticizing. Okay. Criticizing.
And then there are fears. Then there are coming fears, like if I do this, maybe I'm risking my career or I'm risking my money. Like there are all these fears that they are coming.
Okay, so let's go back to this. I want you to write this down. It starts with a belief, right? There's a belief, right? The beliefs drive the thought. right?
Mm-hmm.
The thought drives the feeling, and then the feeling drives the action.
Mm-hmm.
So
Right.
you actually know what the thought is, right? The thought is either people will laugh, we break it down, and you can do this exercise. Like, we just pick one, I'm not good enough. Okay, is that the one you choose which one you want to pick?
Yes, I think it's very powerful. I'm not good enough.
Okay, so your thought is, I'm not good enough. And then how does that make you feel? Because we're going to go back to the belief later. You got this thought. How does that thought make you feel?
Really sad, really angry.
Yeah.
It's really related with the impostor syndrome.
Right. Which again is so prevalent, right?
Mm-hmm.
So let me ask you this. So you feel anger and sadness because you have this thought that I'm not good enough. Then what kind of action do you take from there?
To solve that, you mean?
Well, what I'm saying is, if you realize, like, if you're sad and angry, what do you do? What do you do when you're sad and angry? That's probably the better way to say it.
I love to go in the nature. I see that it's a ling. Something is not okay. This is not bringing me to a good direction. Something I have to change.
That's fabulous. That's exactly. You're like, I'm shifting this. I'm getting out of my feeling. I'm going to go do something that makes me feel good. And you trust, this is great. You trust that it will solve itself. It will dissolve, right? And that's the other piece. It's like knowing and being smart enough to say, I got to get out of this situation. I got to remove myself from this feeling so I can recalibrate. Yeah. But let me just say, so you have this, I'm not good at, well, let's say that's what's driving you. If I'm not good enough, this belief, of course you're going to feel, have a thought that's not positive, right? And then the thought drives a feeling that doesn't feel good. And then there's, you at least know how to get out of it. But what the real important thing is if you look at this belief that's like, I'm not good enough. Do you have a piece of paper?
Yes, I'm ready.
So write down, I'm not good enough. A belief. Mm-hmm. And that's just a limiting belief. And then on the left side of the paper, just do a column, write down all the reasons it's not true.
All the positive reasons.
All the reasons I'm not good enough isn't true. Is true. I'm sorry. No, isn't true. Sorry.
So basically all the opposites, like what are actually the reasons that make me to feel that I am good in what I'm doing.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. So in other words, yes, where's all the evidence in your life that you're not good enough?
I think what is really important for me is that I love what I'm doing. And this is going through, I'm good in what I'm doing, because I believe these are really much related to that.
Okay.
I'm a fighter and I will prove to myself first that I'm very good to do that. It's really like when I have challenges, I really love to really be challenged. So I can really prove, I can really do it. And of course, depending of the situation, if I'm not good enough, I don't know, let's say I'm not good enough in making a podcast, I'm thinking, okay, where is the problem exactly? I'm not good in the organizing the interview, or where I'm not good in, realizing if I can do that, and if I'm really not good, trying to find help into that.
That's great. So you already know what you're doing. I want to go back to this just so if those people who might be listening. So here are all the reasons. I want to add some things.
Please.
So I'm not good enough, which is you love what you do. You're very good at what you do. You've had a successful fashion and jewelry business for many years. You're an amazing wife. You're an amazing mother. You're an amazing thought leader and influencer. So all of those are like data points. That's like, well, everybody else thinks I'm good enough. The world thinks I'm good enough, right? The world thinks I'm good enough. Why am I thinking I'm not good enough? So the point is like you can nix that belief. That belief is an old belief. It's not current. It's not based on fact.
Mm-hmm.
And again, because you're out there paving a new path for yourself, inspiring others, doing something new, learning new things every day, this old belief is going to come up. It's natural.
Yeah.
And it happens to all of us.
Thank you. Very helpful. And I'm sure that for many of our listeners too. I want to go one step back because we're already going to what should we do. And one of the topics that I would love to discuss with you is actually before we try to find out what can we do when we have this problem of not believing or doubts. It's actually another question that is coming before that. It's about our purpose in life.
Okay.
And I believe, especially in this time, we are lucky enough to search for this, because if we look to our grandparents, they didn't have so much time to do it. Now we are in a time when we have so much information, and we can really use so many tools about that. And I know it's such a strong, powerful topic for so many. Tell me your opinion. How can we find our purpose, Amy?
Well, I completely agree with you in that people want meaning and purpose and meaning, right? And because of COVID, it's just accelerated it, and I see that with my clients. It's whether it's, I want to feel like I'm really on my path and doing the work that I want to do, which you already are there, which is amazing. Or, I want to be in a different type of relationship, and that comes up too, with my business clients. So because, we've just had more time and more room to contemplate, and to investigate. And the only thing about it is it's also added wanting to find your purpose, kind of like, I have to find it right away. It's all of a sudden there's this wake up call of meaning and purpose. And you're like, I got to find it. Where is it? You're like searching for it. Right. And
I give myself a week. At the end of the week, I have to find it.
I got to have a job. I have a new relationship. Right. Exactly. Right. And I'm laughing about it because we all do that. Right. I mean, it's just what we do because, my clients and those individuals who are listening right now, I'm sure, we're high performing people, we want things right away.
Right.
So, the process that I help people with, one of the processes, of course, which is you first have to know who you are, your authentic brand, which we've gone through this, or we're in this process. So it's like, who are you authentically? Not who you are, not who you think you were at 25, not who you are after you've had 3 kids, or, got the VP title or started your own company and it got funded and you had a great exit. It's who you are now. It's who you are now. So those who you are now, it's like grounding into who you are, which basically are your natural strengths, what you came into this world with, your skills, what you really value now, not you might have valued some different things at 25, right? Um, and then your passions. And so those elements really create who you are authentically. And the point in doing that is you always want to show up in that way, not in the backstories of the past, not in what you wanted to do in the past. It's, oh, this is who I am today. And now that I know who I am today, then I'm going to get really clear on my purpose. And after that, you can go into action depending on, what you want to do and manifesting that. So I'm just kind of digressing a little bit. So if you know who what your authentic brand is, what those qualities, finding your purpose is your reason to be, right? And it's really looking at, and it's also the intersection of your strengths, values, passions, and skills and expertise. That's usually what it is. It's not just passions. So it's an exercise to look at that and also go, oh, I know what my strengths and skills and what I value and my passions are. Then how do these map into something? If that makes sense. And also what you're good at. So that's really what your purpose is, I will say. And then there's lots of questions, of like, well, and I have a worksheet and I'd be happy to share it with, your listeners, but, it's asking questions. And oftentimes I look at this as going on a purpose quest, like if you were going to Italy and you wanted to explore different places in Italy, right? You would just naturally go on this quest, and I can't wait, and I'm going to go to this town, and I'm going to go to this town, and I'm going to meet with this jewelry designer, and you're out there exploring, meeting people because you love that, right? Well, we can also look at that going on a purpose quest. So it's not, instead of going, I have to find it, it's like, wow, I'm going to really expand myself. I'm going to open myself, and I'm going to actually ask questions of myself, be patient with myself, and see what comes, right? So I keep on saying that because I think I see it a lot with my clients where, it's like, I gotta know,
I'm sure.
So it's really asking yourself questions. What do I like to do? How do I like to express myself? Where do I add the greatest value, right? Really getting in touch with your heart, which you're so good at. Like, what is my heart telling me now? And back to what you said earlier, where you're like, oh, I'm patient. I'm actually watching you get more connected with your heart, and I just said, you're so good at it. I have to be, I want to be patient for that. Why would I not be patient? I'm here to help you go through your process and manifest what you ultimately want. I don't want you to manifest something that you don't want. That's not fun, so that's my role. So yeah. And then, what brings you joy, and then it's kind of looking at the times in your life that you like, looking at your life and go, when have I had the most joy in my life? When I got this contract, when I had a child, when I got married, whatever it might be, when I met that special friend who were just soulmates, and then thinking about from there, not only joy, but what's brought you fulfillment. Maybe it's an achievement. Maybe it's some of these other things that are so important. So it's so individual. So that's really, that's the process, and then you like, okay, once you kind of dig into that, it's creating a purpose statement, right? And I think I said on this worksheet I sent you, and purposes can evolve, but since I've been, since I've been 32, I went to this class, and a piece was, what's your purpose? And I was like, well, my purpose, and I was, managing people and everything. And I said, I'm really here to help people realize their full potential, right? And then it evolved. I went to a class, and it was like, well, I'm really here to inspire and empower. And the reason is because I don't want to be here on, and I want everyone to think about this. I'm on this earth to be purposeful and on my path, but I have to also inspire and empower myself. It's not just everybody else, right? And so I shifted it to that, because I know I'm best when I feel empowered, right? And that I'm feeling inspired, and
I
it
love
just,
that.
it's like
So
being in
true.
that, yeah. And eventually, I mean, ultimately, my other, I'd say, purpose, part of the purpose is I really care about people feeling really empowered so they can feel free. I mean, to feel free, which is taking action in the way that they want to take action, being who they are completely. That, to me, there's a freedom element. And I want people to live their lives, but, not someone else's lives, or for other people, and it's a balance when you have, families and people you have to take care of. But I also see, um, uh, mostly women. I mean, I work with men too, but mostly women, but men do this too. Some of them, they're always taking care of everyone else instead of really looking at what they want.
Hmm. And actually, this is bringing me to another question, to the next question: how to not giving a fuck about being liked? How to do that? It's really like a trend now about this liked being liked. How to
Well,
do that?
it has been for some time, but social media is only enhancing it, right?
Right.
And it's a big issue in teenagers and 20 somethings, because they, I didn't grow up with social media, so there's that. Um,
Hmm.
well, I think it's not realistic for me to say don't give a shit or a fuck about other people. I have a perfect blog that I'm sure I've written several blogs about that, but it is something for us to reflect upon, right? So if you were in the situation where you're like, oh my gosh, uh, I didn't do well in this situation, right? I didn't, or give me an example, like, you know, lately where you've been really concerned that someone may not have thought,
I'm not doing the right thing. I mean, it's happening almost daily, and it's really much related to Instagram because, in my point of view, every day I'm like, oh my God, why I'm posting this? Like nobody cares about this information, and they will actually laugh of it, or they will comment of it, or they will whatever. I don't know. This is very very powerful.
are you getting comments that aren't positive? Or are you just getting not
Luckily,
friendly?
luckily, I didn't get so many negative comments,
I don't think
but
I don't think you probably got any.
no, I
You
didn't.
know, it's something that's driving you, I think you're incredibly authentic. And as long as you are uh, true to your authentic brand, true to your purpose, and then therefore you take the action that is true to you, that's what you can do. And you know what?
Mhm.
I have gotten, believe you me, I've gotten negative feedback, but the negative feedback also makes like, wow, that was good. I needed to know that. I didn't know something I said in one of my blogs offended someone. It was like, wow, good, and because that's the last thing. I mean, of course, you don't want to offend anyone. Um, so that's different than being liked. I actually offended someone, if that makes sense. Like being liked, people can like I go for weeks when people aren't giving me feedback on what I write. And it's like, oh, well. And then when you get someone to say, thank you so much, it's like, oh, wow.
Yeah,
So
I know.
I think I don't have an expectation that I'm going to have that so much feedback,
Mhm.
I guess. I don't know if that
Yeah, I
answered
think I
your
think I
question.
think this is very good. So today I was actually asking on my Instagram some of my followers if they have questions about it, and I would love to go through them, and maybe you can quickly help with some answers. I have experienced a bad working environment. How to develop limitless confidence?
Oh, what a great question. Well, that's a layered question, right? I'd like to know specifically what, specifically that is. So it could
I,
be,
I think it's connected with people around, colleagues, a bad working environment, colleague or maybe the boss.
yeah, okay.
So let's take this
Well,
case.
I think what I would say to that person is I'm happy to have a conversation to walk through that with that situation, because a lot of what I do is around the communication, um, in terms of how do you communicate something, or how's the boss receiving? What if the boss is actually, you feel like he's putting you down, she putting you down as a he or she? Then what do you do from there? It's like, how do you find your voice? And I feel
Mhm.
like that's what the crux of this question is. Like, how do you stay kind of in your own lane, feeling confident, and then being able to communicate that rather than, uh, I don't say reacting to the environment, because that environment, if the boss is treating you poorly, that is about the boss. And then you have to decide what to do around it. And what often happens, it's like, you get anxious and nervous, and I can't believe that person said this to me. And so you get into that story of what happened. But it's almost like, okay, let's dissect this. What happened? How did you respond? How could you respond in a better way, whether it's verbally or just how you feel? Um, and and then let's try it out. Then you have to also try it at like the new way out, meaning the new behavior out. Um,
Mhm.
does that
I
I
think
it's
so. I think
yeah,
so. And
I
I'm
wish I
sure that
had
the
more
person
information,
will
more
listen.
specifics, right?
I'm sure, I hope that the person will listen and will get in touch with you. How to get out of my comfort zone?
Well, I think it goes back to the belief,
Mhm.
right? I mean, a lot of people don't want to try. So they feel like they need to move forward and they're stuck. I think that's a stuck problem. um, and
So
so,
how we get unstuck?
well, you were the inspiration for a blog I wrote a couple weeks ago when I was on
Oh,
yes, when I was on Clubhouse with you, because we were talking about it.
ah, yes, you're
Well,
right. Yeah.
I think the first piece is like, okay, I'm stuck. Like, that's an awareness. You can be like,
Realizing.
oh, just saying, I'm stuck. Like, really acknowledging that I'm stuck. Okay, I'm stuck. Because the whole thing is, how do I get on my comfort zone? Well, just accept that you're stuck, right? You're probably, you're stuck. Accept it. We all get stuck. And then it's also like, why am I stuck? If I feel like I want to go take action, is it because I'm not? It could be a lot of things. It could be the limiting belief that's making me not take action, right? Which then ends up the thoughts and the feelings and all that. I also think so. You got to kind of look at the layers of that, and then I think it's around clarity. Like, if you don't have clarity, you're like, okay. So for instance, I was like, okay, I want to get out of my comfort zone, but I'm really scared. right? That would be a natural.
Mhm.
So how could I get out of it? Well, tell yourself you're stuck. Okay, I'm stuck. So what are the things I'm going to do? Why? And then you have to ask yourself that question. Why am I, what's driving me to not get into it? It could be like, well, when I was a young kid, I had to be safe. I have a client right now who's amazing. And it was basically a situation where she's moving, she's career transitioning, but she has stayed in this job for 20 something years because it's what her family has done, right? It's what it's the feedback she gets from her family. Oh, you don't want to leave that corporate job, so you also have to make sure
That's
you're
terrible.
surrounding yourself with people who can support this thing that you might want
Right.
to do. Makes sense?
That's so important. How to empower myself and my team.
Well, to read a lot of my blogs, that would be one way, but it's also, uh, why not? So part of this is we all have power. We were born with power. And what many of the ways in which, and I'm going to talk about women right now, many more women than men who, because we've been socialized to help other people all the time rather than
Mhm.
looking at what we want, um, we oftentimes do things that give away our power. So we are empowered if we choose to be empowered. But if you're in a conversation with your boss, who doesn't matter, it's a power person, man or woman, and you start going, oh, acquiescing, that's really giving away your power. There's another way to do it. Okay, sure, of course I'll do that for you. Or your child, of course I'll do that for you. It's like, okay, I need to be empowered. I don't need to acquiesce. I need to be clear on my boundaries, right? I need to be like, oh, okay. So there's a lot of new behaviors of it's also being empowered is not being driven by being liked. There's a lot of, I'd say, behaviors, and I have this PDF called How to Live a Liberated Life that goes through some of how to change some of those behaviors as society has given us rules to be, it's like, show up this way, you know and then social media does the same thing, so you have to be beautiful and confident and smart and compassionate, and you have to be all these things, and then you're catering to what everybody else is thinking. So, or in this case, it's, I've got to cater to my employees, I got to cater to my boss, I got to cater to my clients. And it's natural to be like, I'm giving all my energy out to everybody else and I'm forgetting about myself. So being really empowered is taking a step back and saying, I want to be grounded in who I am. I'm clear on what I'm trying to do. Clarity always breeds confidence, right? Um, and I need to have some boundaries. So I'm taking care of myself.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. I love this part and it's super powerful. And I think if we do that, everything else, it's easier. Often I feel disconnected with the earth. How to feel grounded?
I love that question. Um, you know, I'll tell you, meditation has helped me a lot. Being in nature, walking my dog helps me get grounded. Uh, I also see for myself, I'll wake up, have a cup of coffee, I'm right on my computer, and that's just my process. I know I could shift that and give myself a little bit more room. I mean, some people and some of my clients and some of my friends will wake up and write down what they're most grateful for. They'll journal for half an hour or whatever, so there are different tools that can help you. Meditation, getting out, nature. Nature is probably one of the most grounding things possible.